It's a new year, maybe it's time for a skincare reset. In today's video, I'm excited to share with you guys a concept known as priming the skin. I'm going to be explaining what this is, how to do it, why you might want to do it, what the benefits are, and how to go about building a skincare routine to prime your skin. Priming the skin is a really simple approach to reset the skin permeability barrier and to just basically level the playing field prior to starting a new treatment that might otherwise be irritating, or pursuing a treatment like laser therapy or a chemical peel. That can be pretty irritating. If you go into starting one of these treatments or pursuing one of these procedures with an impaired skin barrier, you're far more likely to have issues of burning, stinging, irritation, dryness, and peeling. Think of priming the skin much like the approach you might take to painting a wall. If you walk into a room and you see a wall covered in old, flaky paint, you're not just going to start painting that wall. You're going to prime the wall to remove the old flaky paint so you have a fresh surface that is ready to accept the new coat of paint. Priming the skin and the approach to priming the skin is very much the same concept. It's something that you're going to start a few weeks in advance of maybe starting a new treatment or pursuing a new skincare ingredient. You may find that priming the skin and the approach of skincare priming works out so well for you that a lot of issues you may be struggling with improve. What exactly does priming the skin entail? Super simple, something I advocate for all the time. A basic skincare routine of a gentle cleanser, a basic moisturizer, and a sunscreen. And I'm going to explain how each of these three things plays such a key role in priming the skin and setting you up for success moving forward when pursuing maybe a new treatment or a new ingredient, or even a skin procedure. When we talk about the skin barrier, we're talking about the outermost layer of the epidermis. It keeps irritating stuff out and it keeps moisture in. And you'd be surprised when that balance is thrown off, so many things can go wrong and a cascade of issues can occur. Dryness, peeling, redness, sensitivity, burning, stinging. Skincare products are just miserable to deal with when you have an impaired skin barrier. You're more likely to have a lot of symptoms of discomfort. Now, you can develop an impaired skin barrier from using too many active ingredients, harsh cleansers, over cleansing your face, from environmental stressors like maybe you went skiing, you were out on the slopes, that cold winter wind is very drying and maybe it left you with windburn. That is an impaired barrier. But having an impaired skin barrier is actually inherent to a lot of primary skin conditions: rosacea, eczema, acne, perioral dermatitis, contact dermatitis. And while an impaired skin barrier is not inherent to hyperpigmentation and melasma, if the barrier is impaired, you're a lot more likely to develop irritation, and that irritation can make the hyperpigmentation and or melasma much more stubborn to fade, much more persistent, and possibly even worsen it. There's something known as status cosmeticus, hyperreactive skin as a result of using too many skincare products. Basically, the skin is red, you have a lot of symptoms of sensitivity, and any product that you end up using can leave you very red. You're also a lot more vulnerable to becoming sensitized and subsequently allergic to a lot of common allergens like nickel, fragrance, certain preservatives. So skincare products, they become a little bit more menacing than you might think, and new active ingredients can be a lot more difficult to tolerate. Priming the skin basically allows for skin barrier recovery, minimizing the risk of irritation from new ingredients. The therapeutic benefits that come from priming the skin, your skin can thank you in the form of less redness, irritation, burning, stinging. For many skin conditions, this approach alone can actually improve the issue tremendously. Y'all know from my videos that a lot of acne medications like tretinoin, tazarotene, adapalene can be irritating. They can burn, they can sting. Benzoyl peroxide, azelaic acid can be drying. If you start azelaic acid and you've got a barrier defect going on, it's more likely to be uncomfortable for you. You'll set yourself up for success by priming the skin in advance of starting something like that. Priming the skin can also be super advantageous prior to pursuing a chemical peel. If you're going to spend money on a chemical peel for cosmetic reasons, you want to go in making sure that your skin barrier is already happy with you. Priming the skin, it sounds really fancy. It sounds like some advanced skincare concept, but it's really very simple. It's really just essentially keeping a very basic skincare routine of consistent cleansing, consistent moisturizing, and consistent use of a sunscreen. It's really just that simple. To a certain extent, maybe it involves not going on TikTok or watching too much YouTube and getting influenced to purchase new products, try out new ingredients. It really is just a very boring, basic routine but I'm telling you, it can really pay off dividends for the health of your skin and for allowing you to tolerate new ingredients down the road much better. So why are these 3 steps so important? A basic skincare routine of cleansing, moisturizing, and sunscreen can really support skin health and skin barrier recovery, and also can allow for better tolerance of medications used to treat skin conditions. Let's talk about cleansing. Why is it so important? Cleansers are intended to remove dirt, oil, pollutants, cosmetic residue, impurities from the skin surface. When we're talking about getting the barrier back on track, that's really important because impurities left on the skin surface, pollutants, they create a lot of oxidative stress that further weakens the barrier by damaging lipids and proteins in your skin, and it just creates more work of recovery for your skin. Cleansing helps to remove some of that. However, the cleanser that you choose is key because the ideal cleanser will remove all of that stuff, but it won't remove the lipids and the proteins and the good bacteria that are so critical to your skin barrier function. They'll remove the stuff you don't want, but keep the good stuff behind. And good news, modern cleansers are formulated to do that. Now, when it comes to stuff that you can use to wash your skin with, you have bar soap, classic bar soaps. Those are what Laura Ingalls Wilder had to use. We have come so much further, you don't need to use those, and I don't encourage you to use them. What exactly a true soap is one that is made with basically a fat like beef tallow and a basic ingredient like lye. And while it is a very good cleanser, meaning it will remove stuff, it's not very discerning and ends up removing a lot of the protective stuff, and the pH of true soap is quite alkaline. Quite basic, and because of that, it disrupts your skin's pH, and ultimately those harsh effects can leave your skin dry and vulnerable to irritants penetrating. A true soap is something like Ivory soap, Irish Spring, those bar soaps always come to mind. When you look at modern facial cleansers though, you're either dealing with a Syndet or a non-lipid cleanser. Syndet stands for synthetic detergent, less than 10% soap with synthetic detergents added that are mild surfactants to remove stuff that you don't want but minimize disruptions to the good stuff. Syndets are more neutral to acidic pH, so they don't disrupt the pH of your skin barrier. A classic example of a Syndet would be the Dove Beauty Bar. A lot of Syndets also have ingredients added that can be deposited on the skin surface for moisturizing benefit. Then you have, as I mentioned, lipid-free cleansers. Lipid-free cleansers contain fatty alcohols that help to remove debris and impurities from the skin surface with minimal disruption. Lipid-free cleansers actually can be left behind on the skin. They don't require you to rinse them off. You could just wipe them off. Now, I do suggest rinsing them off in total just because any residue of the grime that they are helping to break up and remove left behind can be pretty irritating on the skin. So I do suggest that, but technically they don't. A classic example of a lipid-free cleanser is going to be Cetaphil's Gentle Skin Cleanser. These Syndet and lipid-free cleansers, they deposit moisturizing ingredients behind, they're not stripping, they leave the skin feeling clean, refreshed, and hydrated. That's what you want in a basic skincare routine. When it comes to cleansing, you want to make sure you use your cleanser properly. I suggest cleansing the face at least once a day at nighttime. Some people who have very oily skin, they need to wash their face twice a day, but for others, they get along with just washing their face once a day. It's up to you, but washing more frequently than that can end up disrupting the skin barrier no matter what you're using, so it's a delicate balance. I suggest washing your face at night for sure. When you wash your face, make sure you use lukewarm to cool water, never hot. The hot water is further going to drive more water loss out of the skin by disrupting barrier function. And just use your finger pads in a circular motion as opposed to like a rough washcloth or some sort of cleansing brush. It can actually end up being more irritating to the skin surface, not what you want prior to starting, say, tretinoin. You want to prime the skin to be happy, healthy, hydrated, and cleansed. I suggest cleansing at night because you've got cosmetic residue, impurities, pollutants that settle on the skin from throughout the day, and at night while you sleep, your skin barrier is trying to recover. A lot of healing pathways are going on. If you still got that residue of debris on the skin surface, it's going to generate more free radicals that your skin has to deal with. Kind of gets in the way of good recovery and repair and healing. All right, number 2 is using a moisturizer. Moisturizers, I hear people comment this all the time, moisturizers don't do anything, they're just a marketing gimmick. And that is so wrong, because moisturizers are actually at the crux of management of a wide array of skin diseases and skin conditions. Keratosis pilaris requires consistent use of a moisturizer. Atopic dermatitis. Consistent use of a moisturizer is also really important if you have any kind of hand eczema. If you're washing your hands a lot, moisturizing is always what's emphasized. Also, to say they don't do anything when they have a track record of helping to control symptoms and control disease severity, it doesn't make a lot of sense. What's the point of a moisturizer and why is it so valuable here? The point of using a moisturizer is simply to improve moisture content, hydration of the stratum corneum, the protective layer. That's what they do. That's what they do. And they do that either directly or indirectly. They do it directly through occlusive ingredients, which literally just trap the water in the skin. They prevent occlusive ingredients like petrolatum or dimethicone, trap the water there, prevent it from evaporating, keeping the skin more hydrated, keeping the water content teed up. Whereas other ingredients like humectants or hygroscopics, they improve moisture content indirectly. Hygroscopic ingredients attract and bind water. And then you also have physiologic lipids that are added to many moisturizers, like fatty acids, cholesterol, ceramides, and pseudoceramides. These can be deposited in the stratum corneum, and there's evidence that they, at least in the case of atopic dermatitis, eczema, that they help to stimulate and initiate barrier recovery and healing and production of the body's own lipids as part of the stratum corneum and barrier function. Water content in the stratum corneum, it really makes a huge difference in the health of your skin, because water is so important for the enzymes that control barrier function and recovery. And water is also going to help hydrate up the corneocytes. And what that's going to do is the corneocytes are the cells in that protective layer. When they're hydrated and plumped up, just by space filling, they help to slow the penetration of irritating things into the skin. An aesthetic benefit of using moisturizers through that hydration and space filling is that it also smooths out fine lines and wrinkles, just gives the skin an overall smoother, more radiant, glowing appearance. Now, I suggest choosing a moisturizer that is free of fragrance. As I mentioned, if you are dealing with status cosmeticus, hyper-irritable skin, fragrance is the most common allergen. So if your skin is really flared up and red, you're more prone to developing allergy to that. I would suggest avoiding it. Cetaphil moisturizing cream is a great option. CeraVe moisturizing cream, and there's also Vani cream. These would all be fantastic options if you're able to tolerate them. Side note, YouTube has this new shopping feature. If you tap on the little shopping bag icon in the left lower hand corner of your screen, it will show you a lot of these products that I'm talking about if you want to learn more about them. Consistent moisturizing can help reduce the symptoms of sensitivity by helping to act as a skin protectant. And that's ultimately going to reduce the symptoms of redness, irritation, dryness, peeling. It's going to prime the skin to tolerate ingredients that otherwise would be irritating much better. And then last but not least, it comes no surprise from me, whose tagline is sunscreen and subscribe, and that is sunscreen. Really important part of priming the skin and keeping the skin healthy, because UV rays from the sun, they weaken skin barrier function, they damage DNA and proteins and lipids in the skin. Ultimately, that's going to make the skin more irritable, more prone to water loss, and for irritating things to get in. And UV rays from the sun, they also flare a lot of pre-existing skin conditions, rosacea for sure, acne for sure, they aggravate hyperpigmentation. What sunscreen should you choose? That's really going to come down to a matter of personal preference. Like with moisturizers, I do suggest choosing one that is free of fragrance in the case of priming the skin for sure. But there are a few different types of sunscreens. You have mineral sunscreens, which have zinc and or titanium dioxide. These ingredients, they don't penetrate the stratum corneum as deeply, so they're less likely to burn and sting in comparison to other active sunscreen ingredients. So people with very sensitive skin often, although not always, often tolerate those better. However, they do leave a white cast, which is not cosmetically desirable, especially if you have a deeper skin tone. And if you don't like the way it looks, you're less likely to stay consistent. And when it comes to priming the skin, the take-home point is consistency. That's key. You got to stay consistent. So that might not work out for you. On the other end of the spectrum, you have all chemical sunscreens. These have active ingredients like avobenzone, octinoxate, octisalate. These are great for absorbing UV rays from the sun in broad spectrum sunscreens. However, they do penetrate the top layer of the skin a little bit more deeply. They can burn, they can sting. If you're going to develop an allergy to an active sunscreen ingredient, it's more likely that it would be a chemical active ingredient than a mineral active ingredient. So there's that to keep in mind. But in contrast to the mineral sunscreens, chemical ones do not leave a white cast. So, you know, they're a lot more cosmetically desirable for many. In between all mineral sunscreen and all chemical sunscreen, you have hybrid sunscreen. Hybrid sunscreen is what it sounds like, kind of a hybrid of the two. You have a mineral active ingredient, most commonly zinc oxide, and you have some chemical filters. I find they're a nice happy medium because while they leave a bit of a white cast, it's not as intense as an all mineral sunscreen. And while they do have chemical ingredients, I find that the chemical ingredients are less likely to burn and sting in comparison to an all chemical sunscreen formulation. So just some subtle differences in the three types. But at the end of the day, the best sunscreen for priming the skin is the one that you like enough to use, you tolerate, and that you're willing to wear and be consistent with. Because again, consistency is key. All right, y'all, that is priming the skin. Now, this is a very basic overview. This is something that really anyone can benefit from, but the time we really want to think about it is maybe you're dealing with an active skin issue, maybe you're waiting to see a dermatologist. Priming the skin can set you up for success to minimize the risks of burning, stinging, irritation, dryness, peeling that might occur when starting a new treatment for your skin. It also can help to cut out a lot of background noise from potentially irritating ingredients from a lot of different products. But truthfully, anyone can benefit from keeping their skincare routine this basic: cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen. You don't necessarily need a bunch of serums, toners. Sure, they're fun, and yes, they can have many skin benefits as well, but the more things you use, then you start increasing the risk that issues will arise. So by keeping it super basic, it really can help you out in the long term. And it's a lot easier to stick with just 3 steps as opposed to 4, 5, 6, 7. Every other day I do 30. You know, those routines can get really eye-opening. All right, y'all, I hope this video was helpful to you guys, especially if you're someone who maybe you have tried certain things like tretinoin in the past and you developed a lot of irritation and whatnot when starting them, and that limits your success with them. Now, on the end slate is a video you need to watch because I share with you guys the concept of short contact therapy, and this can be a game changer for introducing a new active ingredient, for tolerating it, for minimizing the risks of burning, stinging, irritation. So definitely don't miss that video. That video is packed with helpful tidbits on starting irritating ingredients. So make sure you check that one out next. But if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.